Brian, the best part about having you on the desk is that you're able to give the perspective from when you played with this national team and where this group is now compared to where they were when you were a part of this squad, scoring goals at a very high rate. Are you pleased with the progression of the U.S. men's national team and where they are year after year?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the way the group is progressing. Having been inside the group and now outside the group, you can see there's continuity that this team didn't have. You have a group of players that really are the ones you can count on day in and day out, and then you have some young players that come across and get their opportunity to make a difference. But back when I was playing, the success we had was mostly because we were a team and we played for each other. And this group, I think, is getting to that level, and the talent is definitely there.
What
Look at them
it's
goals.
a team.
You see
I know, those goals were unbelievable.
Some
30
tap-ins.
goals,
See that header one?
95. Hey, but Fox in the box, you got to be in the right areas to put those away. When you talk about that coming together as a team, what do you attribute that to? On the teams that you've been a part of with the U.S., what really brings a group together and is that glue?
Be careful, Brian. Be careful.
No, it is. A lot of it is trust. If you can trust your teammate, whether it's on the field, off the field, those relationships just continue to grow. And then you can see the continuity, you can see the togetherness of playing with each other and understanding what your teammate might do on the field is so important. So
Nigel's what? Yeah. Nigel's got some nights out in vision.
I'm just
There's a lot of redacted. There's a lot of redacted going on in Nigel's head right
Brian
now.
Brian can't say it, but I will say it. It's team bonding, team nights out. That's what helps. Like, we've seen it. Arsenal went to Dubai, and since going to Dubai, they've been undefeated in the Premier League since being back. We saw it with Kansas City when they started last season. 10 games was absolute pants. They go on a team bonding session, and all of a sudden they make the playoffs. The more time you spend off the field, which our generation did, the stronger you are as a team. Trust me. It's so important because you get to know each other on a personal level. You even talk about the game. Sometimes you talk about a lot of things, but you will talk about the game, and you see and it becomes a bit of a telepathic relationship that becomes created on a football field.
But how hard is that when you're not playing with these guys all the time? This isn't like your club team where you see these players day in and day out at training. You're only together a few times a year.
But you might have known each other for a long time. Some of these players have been playing since they were teenagers.
True,
yeah, some of them play throughout the system, but the biggest thing is this: it lies on the manager. It's about the manager and the coaching staff creating that atmosphere at international level. Yes, you play at different clubs, you compete in different situations, but when you come to international level, you have to create that same environment and make the players feel that they're at club level. The best nations do that. You can see that there's a real togetherness, a real unity, but that all stems from the manager, the senior players, the leadership you have in the group, getting that to say, right, yes, we are in different competitions, but when we're representing our nation, we are one unit and we're together to be successful.
It's also a different era. Look, technology is a little different than back in your day. Now there's group chats. You didn't have group chats in your Motorola Razr.
Group chats is just you're not late.
What'd you do?
Flip phone, right?
What'd you do? Quill.
We were given more responsibility.
Your quill pen sending letters, dearest teammate.
Oh, you find that funny?
The roads are cold.
I'm glad you find that funny.
Hey,
You're
but you know
gardening
what?
in
Nigel,
Kansas City and watching tumbleweeds roll in Kansas City.
That's Nigel's big joke now, is that I'm from the country, living in Kansas City, which is very much a city. Well, speaking of the manager and Gregg Berhalter, this is a pretty big Nations League for him because he wasn't on the touchline last year when the U.S. won it under B.J. Callahan, who was stepping in as the interim manager. Alexis, how much of that pressure do you think that Gregg Berhalter's feeling?
I mean, okay, the biggest pressure is because of how fluid they played and how free they played.
BJ ball, baby.
Yo, it was a different, there was something freeing, there was something relaxed about how they were playing and how good they were all connecting with each other. And that's something that I don't think we've seen since that competition. So I think that may be weighing, or at least it seems like a bit of a cloud over Berhalter's head because people keep remembering, man, and we were there, we were watching. This team is playing with almost no pressure right now in a situation where they should have pressure. And it was free, and it was fun, and it was progressive and expansive. And sometimes it feels like players are trying to remember where they're supposed to be when they play under Gregg Berhalter. So I think that part right there is adding pressure on top of, being rehired, having high level of expectations, wanting to look good for the World Cup that's going to be shared amongst the countries in our region here. So it's going to be in this country. There's a lot of pressure on them, but I think part of the way they played the last version of this competition is something that I think fans are going to keep watching.
In defense to Gregg, it's easy for players to do that because in that point there, the US was in a transition period without having a real manager and stuff. So as a player being in that environment, you got nothing to lose. You're just going out there to play because this isn't your manager. So really and truly, from a player's perspective, it's easy for them to go out there and play with less pressure because there isn't actually a certified manager in place. You go out there and enjoy yourself more. If there was a manager in place, regardless if it was Gregg or someone else, you probably wouldn't have that same freedom that you saw in the players.
You feel naturally scrutinized, right?
Yeah.
You know every time you touch the ball, your head coach is going to analyze what you've been doing with the ball. So Nigel's right to a certain extent. And I also think, make no mistake, even though BJ was in charge, Gregg and BJ are very tight. And that was really close to the deal being done. So I'm sure there was some ideas talked about and the ideas that BJ has, and certainly he's a very good manager, a very good coach. He understands the game extremely well. I don't think his team talk would be much different than Gregg's. So the freedom part, of course, you love to see, but I think that comes also with, how many times you play for your country, how you've been in situations like this, big tournaments. So these young players have now been through it a couple different times, and I think hopefully that shines through tomorrow and hopefully in the final.
I've got a good question for you. For me, do you think, I like Gregg, I think Gregg's a great coach, but do you think there's an element of Gregg where I get things that remind me a bit of Pep Guardiola at times before he won the Champions League, where he's a good coach, but there's elements sometimes of over-coaching, where it's too regimented in the sense of how he wants the players to play, where he wants them to be, instead of giving them that balance of a bit of freedom. For instance, Carlos Ancelotti says, coaching, best thing you do is you teach them how.
It's the opposite extreme.
Yeah. I'm just saying, no, it's the truth though. He's a successful manager, but for me, he says you teach the players how to defend. In an attacking sense, you give them that freedom to express themselves. I feel with Gregg, it's like it's controlled all the way through. There isn't that real freedom for players to express themselves a bit at times.
Gregg is very detailed, and I understand what you're saying. And certainly, there's always going to have that little aspect now that the game's changed. And we talked about it before. The coaching idealism is changed. Before, it was exactly like Ancelotti, where you set your team up to defend, and then going forward, you gave a few ideas, but you let the players play. Now there's more understanding of tactical awareness of how to build out a 4 in the back, a 3 in the back, a 4 and 2, a 3 and 2, and all that information I think is very good. But certainly some players might get caught up in thinking through that process, and it might delay their growth, or at least not allow them the freedom.
Well said. Do you think that there's a player in particular or a position group that has maybe been hindered by some of that?
No, definitely not. I think it's been helped. And when you're building towards something, you have to give the players ideas. Certainly then it's on them to be able to play with freedom. But, Gregg's a very good coach and certainly detail-oriented.
It's going to be interesting to see how this